And now we'll go back to the story of petrol price surge. And we have joining us Public Affairs Analyst Dr. Jide Johnson, joining us from Lagos. Good morning, Dr. Jide. Thank you for joining us once again.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. So now looking at the story, of the price hike, it's been one too many. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's very clear. The government embarked on the regulation when the president gave his speech, his inaugural speech, May 29, 2023. He said that subsidy is removed and everything was left to the forces of the market, and demand and supply will determine it. And then we have the intervention of the private sector with the coming on board of Dangote Refinery, and then NNPC for the first time in the history of Nigeria gave some measure of accountability, and we have seen the movement. There's no way the price of petroleum product will remain the same. It will fluctuate. It will be subject to whatever you have with the market forces in the market. So as far as I'm concerned, we should expect this. We should expect a rise and fall in the price of petroleum product as a result of the deregulation, because there's no longer subsidy in the market concerning that particular sector.
All right, now the NLC has actually said that the government needs to learn to engage stakeholders. Now, what alternative strategies, can the government adopt to engage these stakeholders more effectively, especially in decisions affecting petrol pricing?
Well, as far as it's complete deregulation. You see, it was complete and total deregulation of the telco sector in early 2000 at the dawn of this democratic experience. And look at what happened to the telco sector concerning that complete overhaul of that deregulation. It liberalized the market, it stabilized the market, and it brought growth in the information technology industry, which hitherto was never like that when NITEL has absolute control over the telco sector. So we are looking forward to a situation whereby the federal government will divest its investment in NNPC, just like you have in Aramco in Saudi Arabia, and just like you have in Petronas in Brazil. And then you have active participation of the private sector in this particular sector. And that's what will bring about relief. Any form of palliative. Look, every successive government in my teenage and adult life has removed petroleum subsidy, and they've come up with different forms of palliative. And what has that palliative done to the populace is just dropping water into the ocean. It does not have any complete effect. What will bring about a turnaround in that particular sector is for government to completely divest its control in the petroleum sector. Let the people in the private sector operate this, and let government regulate and make money from it.
All right, now, Dr. Johnson, speaking of successive governments, Nigerians have never had it this bad, in previous governments. So how do you think that this surge would impact, inflation cost, inflation rates, the cost of living, and also overall economic stability in the short and long term?
Well, the area of my disagreement with this government policy is about the area of overregulation. Taxation does not improve the economy. Deregulation improves the economy. And what this government has done is to remove the safety nets of whatever welfare the citizenry are enjoying from the government. The government seems to be running at many directions in trying to bringing about reform, and this reform is strangulating Nigeria. You have inflation at 34.8%, which is 35%, which has put a heavy burden on every Nigerian. The cost of living is high, the standard of living is low, and then the government is coming up with tax reform. You also have government allowing the people in the telecom sector to increase their various tariffs that they impose on it. So when government imposes too much tariff, look, what is the approach? In the United States of America today, a new president will be sworn in, and what was the cardinal principle of no tax on tips, and is looking at removing income taxes. It's looking at to generate revenue from tariffs other than income taxes, and then it's establishing, instead of internal revenue services, it's establishing external revenue services. Now, government all over the world are resuming taxation, but in Nigeria we are running contrary to that purpose. We are having too much regulation, too much taxation, and increases on rates and taxes that take away money from the disposable income of the citizenry. And that itself, we have untold hardship on the citizens. So I disagree with this government in that particular area of taxation, removal of tariffs. The electricity tariff was increased. Now you are increasing the telco tariffs. And what do we have to show for you? What they will tell you is that, oh, we are giving more money. We are giving more money to the subnational. The states are getting more allocation. The local government are getting more allocation. Are these allocations being felt by the people in their various localities? That's another question, another issue for another day for us to discuss.
Well, you talked about, tariffs, reforms, and, I agree with you when you say that all of these are actually not working, and it doesn't seem like the government is actually listening to the people. So what can be done for the government to listen to the people and give the people what they want, and speaking of the reforms, to be able to reflect in the lives of the people?
Representative of the people, who happens to be the legislature, who are the elected representative of people who are meant to serve as checks and balances in the presidential system of government that will produce, have been in cahoots with they are not doing their oversight function. You look at what happened last week concerning the presentation of the budget, defense of the budget by the IGP of the police, whereby the IGP appeared before the committee, joint committee of the National Assembly, and what he was reading, was different from what was given to all other members of the National Assembly, apart from the chairman. And you look at the way the chairman of that committee, the way he degraded and his fellow members when they ask questions concerning what he's reading, they don't have access to it. So what we can only do is to look at the quality of people we elect into the House of Rep, the quality of people we elect into the Senate, and the quality of people we are allowed to be the leadership of these various legislative bodies, because the actual representative of the people are the legislature. They are the ones that have the power over the force. They are the ones that have power over any government policies that is being instituted by any administration. And when this body that is meant to serve as checks and balances, that is meant to be the representative of the people, has become an extension of the office of the president or become the extension of the office of the governor, then you know that there's no hope for anybody, there's no hope for any common man concerning that. So we are left at the mercy of those who have elected. What we can do is to wait for the next 4 years.
Well, aside waiting for the next 4 years, you did talk about, listening to representatives of the people. But then, are there lessons that can be drawn, from former Nigerian leaders' consultative approaches in managing public concerns over sensitive economic policies?
What is the confidence of Nigeria in the electoral process? And having Nigeria is confidence in the electoral process. What is the confidence? Where does the sovereignty of those that are in power today, where did it come from? Did it come directly from the people? Majority of the people that are in public offices today, their sovereignty came from the courts. It was the court that makes determination concerning that. And so it is where your sovereignty lies, that's where your attention will go. And that's why you see that the various first attempts that are made by different government at different levels, whose salary was first increased when this administration came to power? Whose salary was first? It was the salary of the judicial officers that was first increased. So that's where their sovereignty comes from. And so it's very clear who pays the piper dictates the tune. As far as the present democratic arrangement that we have, which is cash and carry democracy, which is a judiciocracy which is determined by the judiciary, will be left at the mercy of those that are in public offices, because they did not come to power through popular sovereignty. They came to power through judicial pronouncement, and so they will not listen to public opinion. It's only those that came to power through popular sovereignty that listen to public opinion, because they know that their sovereignty lies with the people. Their access to power lies with the people. But it's a situation whereby your mandate is a narrow mandate, is a minority mandate, and it's determined by the courts, and then you can call the bluff of the citizenry because you don't need them, as long as you can manipulate the process to become the president or the governor or the local government chairman of your respective area.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jide Johnson, for speaking to us.